At the top of this year, I looked at all of my accounts and I realized I was $33,000 in debt. At the time, I was working a full-time job and I had some side hustles that was bringing in a few extra income. So money really wasn't an issue. I was grossing over $100,000 a year. But after I did that audit, I had to really ask myself, how am I grossing over $100,000 and I'm still $33,000 in debt? This was honestly a wake-up call for me because I felt like I spent my early 20s making foolish decisions with money. I don't really beat myself up about it because I know that at the end of the day, like, one, there's nothing I can do, and two, you can only do so much with what you know, and that's all I knew at the time. As of December 1st, I am officially 100% debt-free, paying over $33,000 of debt in only 8 months, and here's how I did that. Now, I've always had an abundance mindset when it comes to money because I have a college degree. I've been working since I was 14. My middle name at this point is Keep a Job because literally I always have something to do. I also have, over the course of time, developed a lot of skills that have allowed me to be useful to certain people in my life and in my network. And so when opportunities arise, they call me, and if I'm available and able to do it, I give them my rate and they're able to accommodate most of the time. Whether that be photography, personal assisting, personal shopping, styling assisting. There's so many creative side hustles that you can do in LA. I will probably make a whole separate video talking about this because if you use your skills wisely, you can definitely make a lot of money on the side. I say that to say, if you know me over the last couple of years, you know that if I'm not at my 9 to 5, I'm always doing something else. I definitely will probably admit that I am a little bit of a workaholic. However, that's just my vice. That's literally just my vice. Like Kim K said, that's literally what I like to do. I just like to work. However, that comes with some caveats because like many people my age, early 20s, you have an influx of money coming in. You probably most likely are spending a lot, especially living in a city like Los Angeles. I moved to Los Angeles straight out of college. In 2021, I graduated from Georgetown University, packed up my bags, drove across country to Los Angeles, and 2 months later started working at my first full-time job making a salary. I wish I would have had a mentor that would have told me to do all of the things like open up a Roth IRA, save an emergency fund, pay off all of your debt, don't get an expensive car. However, I didn't have those things. So in my early 20s, I made some decisions that weren't necessarily horrible. Like I said, I don't really judge myself for it now because, I mean, at the end of the day, I've sacrificed 8 months and now I'm 100% debt free. However, I don't think I made the smartest decisions with my money in my early 20s. After turning 25 in February, I turned 25 this year, I kind of had an experience that shifted my perspective on what I wanted to do because I was working. And then at a certain point, I realized after having a little bit of a lifestyle inflation, I realized, wait, I'm making all this money, but I'm kind of barely seeing any of it. And I have all this credit card debt. So it's just like, what's really happening here? Turning 25 truly reshaped my perspective on what I should be prioritizing and where I want to go next. Financial literacy, financial stability, financial freedom. Those are all things that I now at this age want to prioritize, and made it a mission to become 100% debt free at the end of the year, which I've thankfully been able to do. But before I talk about how I paid off $33,000 of debt in 8 months, I want to talk about what my debt was and how I got into $33,000 of debt. So let's break it down. There were 3 main categories in my life that was keeping me in debt. The 3 main categories are pretty common. We probably all have had them at some point. Personally, for me, number 1 was my biggest purchase post-graduation, my car. Mind you, the car that I got wasn't that expensive. However, for what I was making, I definitely could have went a little bit lower. Thankfully, I had a really good credit, so I got a low APR interest rate. However, I think with a little bit more guidance, I probably could have made a better decision on what car to get. Back in March, when I started my debt-free journey, I had a little bit over $14,000 to pay in my car. And at the time, it just felt like such a weight, and it felt like a number that I was never going to get to zero. However, I am 100% free in the car department, and I am not getting a new car anytime soon. Baby, I am driving that car until the wheels fall off. Unless I win the lottery. In that case, I will be getting a baby blue Bentley. The second thing that kept me in debt was my credit card / consumer debt. I now have a mindset where I feel like experiences are more important to me than like material things. And so I don't regret the experiences that I've had. For example, I went to Cabo for my 25th birthday. That was an amazing experience, one that I would not trade the world for anything. However, I feel like in the past with my credit card and consumer debt, I could have been a little bit more mindful with things like shopping and spending money that I didn't have in my checking account. Thankfully, I'm at the point in my life and in my financial journey and in my adulthood where I do not spend more than 10% of my entire credit amount. I think at this point, I don't even go past 5% unless I know that I'm going to pay that back immediately. Third thing that was weighing me down, and this was like kind of like a cosmetic, like little minor cost, but my Invisalign. I got Invisalign this year and I knew that it was an investment because I wanted to invest in my smile, and I don't regret it. So that's something that I just knew that I would have to pay down. And the fourth thing that was keeping me in debt was my student loans. When I think about it, I'm like, was college really worth it? I had some loans that I kind of like tucked in the closet and like forgot about. During the pandemic, they were paused for a little bit. Post-pandemic, I was just like, okay, well, these are just gonna be here. Like, I don't even know what to do with them. Like, it was a little bit over 8,000. So in my mind, that wasn't that much. However, the reason I decided to prioritize them this year is because post-pandemic, there was a pause on payments for student loan. But at a certain point, they resumed payment. And if you weren't making payments, you were getting interest on your loans. And I did not want to pay more than I had to. So now that you know everything that was keeping me in debt, how exactly did I pay down $33,000 of debt in 8 months? Number one, tracking my income and my expenses. This was crucial because I needed to know exactly what was coming in and what was going out. I created a monthly finance tracker that you can find and download on my website, and I use that to track every single expense. On my monthly finance tracker, I also included a section where I have my debt and my savings on top of each other, so you can see the ratio, so you can know your debt to saving ratio, and you can be able to update that monthly as well so that you know your progress if you are on a debt-free journey as well. So the second thing that I did to pay down $33,000 of debt in 8 months was living below my means. I talk a lot about this on my TikTok and on my Instagram, and I actually had a video that recently did really well and got reposted by Afrotech about the importance of living below your means. Now, this doesn't mean not living a fruitful life, not living a wealthy life in all areas. However, it just means being realistic about what you have and how you spend that. Alongside living below my means, this year I also cut some of my living expenses in half. In 2023, I was living in like a high-rise luxury apartment, and I realized, I don't really want to spend the extra income that I'm making from my side hustles on this expensive ass apartment. So I moved to something a little bit less, and I like it just as much. It allowed me to allocate those funds toward my debt. That was really a huge part in how I was able to pay down $32,000 of debt in 8 months. As a rule of thumb now, I try not to spend more than 20 or 25% of my total income on my living costs. The costs were just adding up. As you know, when you live in a luxury building, they charge you for amenities, they charge you for parking. Parking was like $250 for one parking spot. It was insane. And I had to sacrifice getting up out of there in order to focus paying off this debt. We had some good moments in that apartment though. It was really pretty, it was really beautiful. And who's to say I won't end up back there? We'll see. Another alternative to cutting down your housing expenses could really be finding a roommate. I had a roommate my first year in LA, and it honestly did not, well, I still love my roommates to this day, but it didn't really I needed my space. I needed my own space. I needed a year to just really live with myself. So in actuality, I needed that year in that apartment. Everything happens for a reason, so I don't regret it. The third thing that I did to pay down $32,000 of debt in 8 months was increasing my income. Now, this one you may have to get a little bit creative with, especially if you're at a job where you feel like it doesn't really make much sense for you at this current moment to advocate for yourself and ask for a raise. If that's the case, and if you work a 9 to 5, you can definitely find alternative side hustles outside of your work hours to make extra income, whether that be side hustles on the weekends, side hustles from 5 to 9. At a certain point, I realized that I just had to start making more money. Like, there was no way that I was capping out at what I was able to pay with just the one salary from my full-time job. And so I had to just increase my income. This is primarily how I was able to go from a little bit over $33,000 in March to $0 by the end of November. Honestly, as I'm having more financial literacy conversations with my friends about money and finances and salaries and debt and all of the things, I'm realizing that we have more in common than we even probably realize ourselves. It was so cool to see them motivated by me paying off my debt or me being on this journey and being really disciplined in the season and saying, oh, okay, I kind of want to do that too. That made me so happy. And I think that these are important conversations to have. At first, I was like a little bit hesitant because I'm like, why am I oversharing? The more messages that I receive from people in my actual personal lives and also people from social media, people from TikTok and Instagram, as I've been sharing my journey there as well, it's really motivated me to share more. And through the thick of it, it really motivated me to keep going as well, because we're literally all going through the same thing in some sort of way. If you don't have credit card debt, you have car debt. If you don't have car debt, you probably have house debt. Having more transparent conversations about money should be normalized. That's the entire reason why I'm starting this channel and why I wanted to document my journey on social media in the first place. So if you're not already following me on TikTok and Instagram, make sure you follow me on there. This is just step one to my financial literacy / financial freedom journey. So if you found interest in this video and you found it valuable, make sure you subscribe. I really would appreciate that. And if you are going through a similar debt-free journey, stay motivated. With a little bit of discipline and a lot of consistency, you will be debt-free in no time. Thanks for watching. Bye.